So anyway, we've done that. We've accomplished that.
Right.
So we're very excited about the changes in Powerball. And I think our players will.
That's very exciting. Of course, folks can find links to Powerball from SCEducationLottery.com.
Yes.
And other opportunities there. And, of course, a lot of folks wonder about how people, let's just get into some of those basic frequently asked questions. I know there's a lot of focus for Beach Boogie and Barbecue. Folks can go online to beachboogiebarbecuefestival.com
Yes.
to learn more about all the tremendous activities, not only tonight from 5 to 10, but also tomorrow. There's a big football game. They're playing on a 30-foot wide, I think a big Clemson, Alabama. Some big football game is tomorrow that a lot of folks will be watching and being out there. But to see your tremendous tent and the big giveaway tomorrow, a lot they can do just getting out to the Market Common tomorrow. It's a good place to be for Labor Day weekend. But some of the frequently asked questions that are on your website, one key one is how do people apply for lottery scholarships?
Well, that's a great question, and the answer is typically you drive that to the college or university that you're applying to.
Okay.
You fill out a financial aid form. That's a requirement for any financial aid, so you have to fill out that form once you get qualified. And there are qualifications for different types of scholarships.
Right.
The typical, the most unique and probably the most accessed scholarship is the Lottery Life Scholarship.
Okay.
That's $5,000 plus books per year. There's a requirement. You must have a B average, a 1,100 SAT score, and the top 30% of your graduating class, 2 out of those 3. Unlike Georgia, for instance, once you have a B average, you get the Hope Scholarship. So there are different criteria this legislature has set to determine the scholarship awards. But you can get a Palmetto Fellows, which is a little bit higher, a little bit harder in terms of academic achievement. A Hope Scholarship, which is a little bit lower, and the stipend is lower. And then one of the most important scholarships is the Tech in 2 year. Any South Carolina resident that enters a Tech or 2-year institution gets financial aid. And so typically that could be, well, it all depends on the tuition for each Tech school. That's set by Horry, Georgetown Tech. Will set their tuition, but the lottery scholarship will be a component of that, and a big component. So
Absolutely.
we're finding a lot of young people now going to the 2-year colleges or the Tech system, and then going to the 4-year colleges. Not only to get a good basic education, but also financially, that the squeeze
Thanks
is there.
to the lottery, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
It really is a great testament there. And as you drive home the point that it is just plain fun, but at the same time a real focus on education. It's critical to drive that back at all times. And of course, when folks think about that, how much money from the lottery sales actually goes into education? I'm sure it's probably one of the, if not the most frequently asked questions. It is.
And again, SCEducationLottery.com, you can get a lot more details, but over $2 billion has been appropriated by the General Assembly since we started up through fiscal 09, which is the budget year we're in now.
Right.
And that equates to over 588,000 lottery-funded scholarships since we started up. Now, it's hard to imagine a South Carolina family not touched by the lottery in terms of scholarships. But there's a lot more, Greg, and people think this is just a college scholarship program. Actually, with higher ed, there's a bigger component, a very important component called the endowed chairs. $190 million has been split 3 ways to our research institutions, Clemson University, University of South Carolina, and the Medical University. And that has to be matched dollar for dollar. For instance, we mentioned Clemson and Alabama football game coming up tomorrow. Clemson has in Greenville the Automotive Research Park, the world-class Automotive Research Park project. That's being built with a combination of lottery funds matched by the automotive suppliers like BMW and Michelin upstate.
Tremendous.
So that's a big component. But then there's more to the story, as Paul Harvey would say. $500 million has gone to public schools. People are not that
K through 12.
K through 12.
Wow.
And see, when you get a lottery scholarship, the parent or the student can see that it reduces the amount you pay out of pocket in tuition. But in public schools, that's distributed by the legislature on various programs statewide to the school district. So that's kind of an unseen part of lottery. But I guarantee you, Horry, Georgetown counties have received a significant amount of lottery aid. The biggest component of that, and this is another frequently asked question, why don't you give more money to the younger kids? 300 of that 500 million has gone to kindergarten through the 5th grade for the basic skills program of reading and that type of thing.
300 to 500 million of that.
300 of the 500.
Of the 500.
So
wow,
over
60%. Yeah.
Yeah, of the amount carved out for public school for public schools. Another component, almost 100 million, has gone to the Education Accountability Act, which is a standards program to raise the standards for all South Carolina school districts. School buses, technology in the classroom. County libraries have received $14.8 million in lottery funding. So it is. And again, if your viewers want to see more of this, go to our website.
Absolutely. SCEducationLottery.com. The great thing that the lottery's website does is it doesn't sugarcoat.
No.
It highlights that there are firm questions that are asked. This simple question: if the lottery's doing so well, why are property taxes for schools increasing and school children not provided with basic classroom supplies? That's straight off of your website.
Absolutely.
And of course, you're not going to sugarcoat it because clearly folks want to know.
Well, the lottery is a component of a big pie.
Right.
Education is a big business in this state and other
The
states.
biggest, yeah.
Absolutely. And it should be. And so basically what you have to look at is the lottery is a piece of that. It's an important piece of it, but it can't solve all the problems of public education from funding on now. But you have to remember that public schools are funded by federal, state, and local dollars. The state component of education, I know over half the state budget goes to education.
Right, absolutely.
And so the state budget is over $7 billion now.
Right.
So then that goes into the school districts, supported by your local property taxes decided upon by your school board, your local school board, and federal money and maybe private grants coming in. So, it's I can tell you from being in the legislature that there's never enough. There's always great programs. There's never enough money to go around. It's just a matter that members of the House and Senate in South Carolina have to make some very important decisions. And I shouldn't have an opinion other than a personal opinion on this.
Right.
So I'm expressing my personal opinion, not as a director of the
No, I
lottery.
understand, absolutely.
But they have done a great job. I think they've done a great job of things.
And they are the ones, not the 145 of y'all at the SC Education Lottery, that are actually deciding where the dollars go. It's the legislature.
You need to, if you want to have input in that, you call your local House of Senate.
Sure, absolutely. And there's quite a few of them to call, but your direct one, I mean, all the House and Senate members are willing to take that call. They may send it over to somebody else, but they want to represent the entire state. It's very important to step out in that regard. And as you think about so many things that have to happen, that 25% K through 12 over the last almost 7 years, 2% to other community education programs. I just want to ask you to highlight those for a second. And then, of course, as you said, the 73% to higher education programs. And
yeah, well, obviously, you have the school buses are over 60 million, technology, and then there's certain funding that's gone specifically to this place or that place.
Sure.
I can't remember all, but it's usually something like a Girls and Boys Club or something like that. The school for the deaf and the blind
in Spartanburg, absolutely. And its locations all around the state, which is tremendous.
Yes, absolutely.
The Education Lottery is really impacting all facets. That old idea, I think of Darla Moore, somebody highlighting not only that education drives economy, but education is economy. Is the economy, and the entire push there. We've got to remember, clearly y'all's focus is pure.
Absolutely. Darla's a great example of the importance of public schools in South Carolina. She's a resident, I think, of Lake City.
That's correct.
And quite prominent resident of Lake City. And she's done a great job in terms of talking about the needs for improving the education system.
Absolutely. How much is spent on advertising? Or a lot of folks ask that. Of course, we're here on a commercial station, which I believe, I'm sure, generates good dollars. Is the lottery station, Fox 43, here in the PD in southeastern North Carolina, as well as right here in Horry County. How much is spent on advertising throughout the state?
Well, we're capped by the law says we can't spend any more than 1% of the prior year's sales.
Okay.
Right now, we're about 0.8 tenths of 1%, which are about 20. So we're 20% under our state mandated.
That's great.
And our commission looks at this. Sure. And the thing is, we need to advertise a product. And we do so in a responsible manner.
Sure.
But we don't want people to, and we don't want to suggest people that lottery is something that it's not. We also, important component of advertising, and you will have it in your rotation, is the play responsible message. If you do have a gambling problem, There's a way to get help free because the lottery funds it. We funded $2 million to South Carolina DEOTUS for gambling addiction programs. So there are those things that add in the mix. But obviously, we work with our great media partners throughout the state trying to get out our message about our products.
That's great. Ernie, what do you attribute the success of the South Carolina Education Lottery?
Well, I think there's a lot of things. First of all, we have a great retailer base.
Right.
We have great media partners that get out a message and assist us with getting that message in a very conservative manner. And then I think what we've tried to do is promote it in a way that it is conducive to the viewpoints of the majority of South Carolinians.
Right. And
I can tell you this, people now see there's a direct correlation between the lottery dollar gross sales-wise and a net dollar and how it's going. And the majority of people, whether they play the lottery or not, like the financial component of it.
Absolutely. I got to ask one last question. If you weren't currently the executive director of the South Carolina Education Lottery, what do you think you'd be doing with your tremendous both education and accounting background, your service in the state senate? What do you think you'd be doing?
Well, I do live at the Isle of Palms on the weekends, so maybe do a little fishing and crabbing.
Right.
But I've always wanted to. Education's always been very important to me, and I think that's the way that we need to move our state forward, like Darla Moore suggests and other people. And so I hope that at the end, when I finish my career, somebody will say, you know, he's helped put his mark positively on the people of South Carolina, especially our young people.
Absolutely. It shows. Ernie, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank
Sorry
you.
We've run out of time.
No problem.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to a little more Carolina People with Ernie Passailaigue, the Executive Director of the South Carolina Education Lottery, coming up next. We're celebrating the South Carolina Education Lottery's Grand Prize Reveal event. Tomorrow's the day. The location's the Market Common. The real festival is the Beach Boogie and Barbecue Festival to be held there to benefit the Omar Shrine and the Citizens Against Spousal Abuse, and a tremendous opportunity to get out there to see the grand prize winner, to see the other finalists, and of course the audience participation. It's all about the South Carolina Education Lottery and just plain fun. Ernie Passailaigue, thanks again for being with us this morning. Have a great wrap up of the summer.